A very good evening and welcome to News Tonight on Rajya Sabha television. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. And in the next 30 minutes, I'll be taking you through the day's biggest news stories from India and across the world, starting with the headlines. Prime Minister arrives in Sri Lanka for a two-day visit, says visit reflects the strong relationship between the two countries. Supreme Court begins the hearing bunch of petitions challenging triple talaq, says it will examine whether the practice is fundamental to Islam, then decide on its constitutional validity. Woman dies, her husband injured in park shelling from across the line of control in Kashmir's Nowshera. Union Home Secretary visits the state to take stock of the security situation. And Justice Kurian approaches the Supreme Court asking it to recall its order sentencing him to jail, says it has no constitutional validity. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Sri Lanka a short while ago for a two-day visit. He will be the chief guest at the International Vesak Day celebrations, the biggest festival of the Buddhists. Now, during the visit, Prime Minister Modi will also interact with Sri Lanka's top leadership. Prime Minister Modi says that the visit reflects the strong relationship between the two nations and also brings to the fore the shared heritage of Buddhism. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arriving in Sri Lanka for a two-day visit, where he will be attending a Buddhist festival in Colombo on the invitation of Sri Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena. Prime Minister Modi will be the chief guest at the UN-recognized International Vesak Day celebrations. The day is meant to mark the birth, enlightenment and passing away of Lord Buddha. This is the first time that Sri Lanka will be hosting International Vesak Day. The theme of the event is Buddhist teachings for social justice and sustainable world peace.
Approach to Sri Lanka is part of our overall neighborhood first policy. And we feel that we believe that our destinies are somehow intertwined. So that is the importance we attach to this relationship, and we hope Prime Minister's visit will be able to provide further momentum to this.
Although no bilateral talks are scheduled, the visit is expected to give renewed momentum to India-Sri Lanka ties. Ahead of the visit, Prime Minister Modi wrote on Facebook that his visit was a sign of the strong relationship between the two countries and brings to the fore the shared heritage of Buddhism. He added it was an honor for him to join the Vesak Day celebrations with Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. Soon after arrival, the Prime Minister participated in a lamp lighting ceremony at the Gangaramaya Temple, one of the most important temples in Sri Lanka. Modi will also pray at the temple of the sacred tooth relic at Kandy. He will unveil a plaque in Palakkale commemorating the foundation laying of the Faculty of Kandyan Dance at the Sri Lankan International Buddhist Academy that will be constructed with India's grant assistance. He will also open the India-funded 150-bed Dikoya multi-speciality hospital. Prime Minister Modi will also have an interaction with the Indian origin Tamil community here. This is Modi's second trip to Sri Lanka as Prime Minister after March 2015. The trip comes after Lankan Prime Minister Wickremesinghe visited India last month. With inputs from Akhilesh Suman, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. On to the other top story of the day. The Supreme Court today began hearing petitions challenging the practice of a triple talaq and nikah halala among Muslims. The apex court said it would examine whether the practice of a triple talaq was fundamental to Islam. A five-judge bench headed by Chief Justice J.S. Kher, however, said that the issue of polygamy among Muslims may not be deliberated upon as it was not connected with the triple talaq.
The Supreme Court on Thursday commenced hearing a number of petitions challenging the constitutional validity of the practice of triple talaq and nikah halala among Muslims. The apex court said it would first determine whether the practice was fundamental to Islam or not. The court, however, made it clear that the issue of polygamy among Muslims may not be deliberated upon as it was not connected with the triple talaq issue. A 5-judge bench headed by Chief Justice J.S. Kheher also said if it came to the conclusion that triple talaq was fundamental to Islam, then it will not go into the question of its constitutional validity. The court had on its own taken cognizance of the question whether Muslim women faced gender discrimination in the event of divorce or due to other marriages of their husbands. The centre contends that the practice is unconstitutional and has asked the top court for a relook on grounds of gender equality and secularism.
नरेंद्र मोदी जी की सरकार 3 तलाक की हर पीड़ित महिला के साथ मजबूती से खड़ी है। 3 तलाक का विषय न धर्म का है, न पूजा पद्धति का है, न किसी समुदाय का है। 3 तलाक का विषय है नारी न्याय, नारी गरिमा, नारी समानता।
The Muslim Personal Law Board, however, has opposed the court's interference in the matter, maintaining that the practices stem from religion and thus fall outside the realm of the judiciary.
Present the law is that the personal laws cannot be tested under Articles 14, 15 and 21, etc. So now the court has to consider this aspect, that whether the earlier view taken by the Supreme Court is correct or this requires any modification or any change.
अगर कोई ये कहे कि हिंदुस्तान की मुसलमान औरतें शरीयत को बदलने की बात कर रही हैं, तो ये सिर्फ कुछ लोग मुस्लिम औरतों के आंदोलन या मुस्लिम औरतों की सच की आवाज़ उठाने के लेकर के वो उनके विरोध कर रहे हैं और ये गुमराह कर रहे हैं कि मुस्लिम औरतें शरीयत को बदलने का काम कर रही हैं.
The court is hearing 7 petitions filed by Muslim women challenging the practice. The hearing will continue during the summer vacation. The Allahabad High Court, in its verdict last week, had held that the practice of triple talaq was unconstitutional, saying it violated the rights of a woman. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now an update on the situation in Jammu and Kashmir. Home Secretary Rajya today visited the state to take stock of the security situation there. No matters relating to the security situation along the international border as well as the line of control, increasing attempts at infiltration and also rising incidents of terrorism in the valley were also discussed. Here is a report.
Union Home Secretary Rajiv Mehrishi arrived in Kashmir on Thursday to take stock of the security situation in the valley. He also met Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti and Governor N.N. Vohra. Extensive discussions about issues relating to effective maintenance of law and order, the security situation along the international border and line of control, increasing attempts at infiltration and rising incidents of terrorism in the valley were held. The Union Home Secretary is also scheduled to hold meetings with top civil, police and army officers. His visit comes a day after a Kashmiri army officer, Lieutenant Umar Fayaz, was abducted and killed by unidentified terrorists in Shopian district. Meanwhile, a 35-year-old woman was killed and her husband injured in mortar shelling by Pakistani troops in Naushera sector of the state's Rajouri district.
पुलिस की रिपोर्ट्स आई हैं, उसमें यही पाया गया कि जो इंजरी हुई है एक इंसान को और महिला की मृत्यु हुई है. बाकी अभी तक हमारे पास कोई नुकसान का अभी तक नहीं पूरा पता चला और हमारी टीम्स गई हुई हैं फील्ड में कि कहाँ पे कितना नुकसान हुआ. हाँ, हमने एहतियात के तौर पे जितने भी बॉर्डर के साथ लगे गांव हैं वहाँ पे जितने भी स्कूल्स हैं उनको हमने बंद किया है.
The Pakistan Army resorted to unprovoked firing and shelling in Naushera, also causing damage to property. Schools across several villages were shut down by district authorities as a precautionary measure. The Home Ministry says at least one incident of ceasefire violation by Pakistan took place daily along the LOC in Jammu and Kashmir in 2015 and 2016, in which 23 security personnel have lost their lives. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
On to some other news now. Calcutta High Court Judge Justice C.S. Karnan today approached the Supreme Court asking it to recall its order sentencing him to 6 months in jail for contempt. Justice Karnan has challenged the constitutional validity of the contempt of court charges on him. The police in 3 states is looking for Justice Karnan after the Apex Court passed an order on Tuesday to arrest and jail him. The 61-year-old was found guilty of contempt by a 7-judge constitution bench, including Chief Justice J.S. Kheher. Now, this after he named 20 judges as being corrupt earlier this year. He also wrote to several people, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi, asking for an investigation. Now, the top court has banned the media also from reporting any of his statements or rulings. In News Tonight, we'll take a very short break. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, affectionately known as Madiba, was South Africa's first democratically elected president, an international peacemaker and statesman, and a Nobel Peace Prize winner. Through a long career as an activist, Mandela was a crusader for equal rights for South Africa's black majority. Having undergone frequent imprisonment, in 1964, Mandela was sentenced to life in jail, charged with sabotage, treason, and violent conspiracy. He narrowly escaped the gallows. He was released in 1990, having initiated talks with South African President de Klerk towards ending apartheid in the country. Mandela was awarded the Nobel Prize for Peace in 1993 for his efforts. In April 1994, the Mandela-led African National Congress won South Africa's first elections by universal suffrage. And Mandela was sworn in as president of the country's first multi-ethnic government. He retired from the presidency in 1999 and from public life in 2004. Nelson Mandela died on December 5, 2013 from a recurring lung infection.
We have been saving people in terms of accurate forecast and warnings, etc. At present, as you know, that earthquakes cannot be predicted. We are doing a lot of work on that aspect also to understand the earthquake processes in the Indian subcontinent. I personally feel that maybe after 20 years or 30 years, there could be some way of predicting earthquakes.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Madhavan Nair Rajivan, Secretary, Ministry of Earth Sciences, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Enter the majestic forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan and you'll come across the Jaipur column. A gift to the Viceroy from Savai Madho Singh, the Maharaja of Jaipur, to commemorate the creation of the new capital. The 145-meter high column is crowned with 6 pointed crystal stars on a bronze lotus, and inside the stone shaft runs a steel tube which weighs a little more than 5 tons. The base of the column has text conceived by Lord Irwin and Sir Edwin Lutyens inscribed on it.
Welcome back after the break. News from the national capital now, and the National Green Tribunal has wrapped the Delhi Development Authority, or the DDA, in a case over the damage caused to the Yamuna floodplains because of the cultural event organized by the Art of Living last year. Now, NGT said that a DDA would be responsible for restoring biodiversity on the Yamuna floodplains, as it was them who allowed Art of Living to hold this 3-day World Cultural Festival. It asked the DDA to commit to a deadline for the restoration of the floodplains environment. The Green Tribunal also pulled up DDA for casting aspersions on the findings of its expert committee. Remember, an expert committee had informed the NGT that a sum of 42.02 crore rupees would be required for the restoration of the floodplains. In response, the DDA clarified its stand, saying that it was just questioning the basis of the findings and the technology used by the experts committee. DDA also said that restoration may take over 10 years. Earlier, both the Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Water Resources told the NGT that they were not responsible for the damage to the floodplains and that they should not be the ones to pay the fine. More news from across the country. Let's go nationwide. The Aam Aadmi Party today staged a protest outside the office of the Election Commission over the EVM row on Thursday. The party has put 3 demands in front of the poll panel. The party has demanded that a VVPAT-equipped EVMs be used in all the future elections. The poll body has also convened an all-party meeting on 12th of May to discuss the issue. The Anti-Corruption Branch, or the ACB, has recorded the statement of a sacked Delhi Minister Kapil Mishra on his allegations that Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal had influenced the probe into a 400 crore rupees water tanker scam. Mishra arrived at the ACB office to record his statement on Thursday. At least 24 people were killed and 28 injured as the wall of a wedding hall collapsed in Rajasthan's Bharatpur district in the late 2 hours of Wednesday. The mishap at the Annapurna marriage home as the guests stood under a wall to protect themselves from rain. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje, former Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot and others have expressed grief over the incident. The Prime Minister has also announced 2 lakh rupees each for the kin of the deceased and 50,000 rupees for those seriously injured. The Enforcement Directorate, or the ED, has issued a summons to Narendra News CEO Matthew Samuel in connection with its money laundering probe in a sting operation where a number of Tribunal Congress leaders were allegedly seen taking money on camera. As per reports, Samuel has been asked to present himself or send an authorized representative before the investigating officer of the case on 18th of May. Uttar Pradesh's ruling BJP has expelled 87 party leaders and workers for anti-party activities. The duration of the expulsion would be 6 years. State General Secretary Vidya Sagar Sonkar said that the action was taken after a probe by the disciplinary committee of the state unit of the party. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met US Congress delegates in New Delhi on Thursday. Now, welcoming the US congressional delegation led by Democrat Nancy Pelosi, Modi appreciated the bipartisan support of the US Congress in deepening ties with India. Prime Minister Modi and the delegation exchanged views on issues of bilateral and mutual interest. Prime Minister Modi also called for further enhancing exchanges with the US Congress. The US delegation is focusing on national security, global economy, bilateral and multilateral relations, as well as human rights. On Wednesday, the delegation had met a Tibetan spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, in Dharamshala and had reaffirmed their commitment to the Tibetan cause. And Pakistan and Iran have set up a joint commission to ensure better border management. The development came 2 days after Islamabad summoned the Iranian envoy to express concern over Tehran's assertion that it will hit terror safe havens in its neighboring country. Now, relations between the two neighbors have been tense due to the killing of Iranian border guards by militants. Iran had warned Pakistan that until Islamabad took steps to stop militants from carrying out cross-border attacks, Tehran will hit safe havens of terrorists inside Pakistan. Now, Pakistan Prime Minister's advisor on foreign affairs, Sartaj Aziz, said that 4 members from each side will be the Commission's members and it will become functional soon. He also said that apart from militants, smugglers and other elements were also present along the Pak-Iran border. Let's get you some more international news in Global Buzz. 8 people were killed and 23 others were injured after an earthquake with a magnitude of 5.5 hit Beijing in the morning on Thursday. It happened through the borders of Tajikistan, Afghanistan and Pakistan in China's Xinjiang region. Reportedly, around 180 houses collapsed in the sparsely populated area of Xinjiang. Rescuers and locals evacuated the injured people and helped clear the debris as well. Young Venezuelan protesters threw rocks and objects at police in the city of Táchira on Wednesday. The death toll in the 6-week-long protest has now risen to 39. 2,000 people are also reportedly under arrest for their protests against the government of President Maduro. The opposition protesters are demanding that political prisoners be released and a humanitarian channel be opened for food and medicine. Instead, Maduro has called a constituent assembly to rewrite the country's constitution. South Korea's new President Moon Jae-in spoke to the leaders of China and Japan on Thursday. The official said that the leaders agreed that all sides must work together to ease tensions over North Korea's weapons and missile program. Moon Jae-in told Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to look straight at history and not make the past a barrier. Police in Bangladesh raided a militant hideout on Thursday. In a resulting blast, 5 suspected militants and a firefighter were killed. Police said that the blast was set off by the militants. Bangladeshi security forces have been searching for militants since an attack on a cafe in Dhaka last July, in which 22 people were killed. Since then, reportedly, more than 70 suspected militants have been killed and hundreds have been arrested by the police as well as army commandos. And finally, time for some sporting action. Here is the sports beats. Spaniard Rafael Nadal beat Italy's Fabio Fognini 7-6, 6-3, 6-4 in a 3-hour epic match in the Madrid Open. 4 times a winner, Nadal twice bounced back to win the first set in a thrilling tie-break. Nadal will now face Australian Nick Kyrgios. In another match, a third seed Stan Wawrinka crashed out of the Madrid Open after getting defeated by world number 52 Benoit Paire 7-5, 4-6, 6-2.
Juego set partido, Paire. 7-5.
Real Madrid survived an Atletico Madrid onslaught to reach the Champions League final, losing 2-1 but going through 4-2 on aggregate to set up a clash against Juventus. Real now have eliminated Atletico from the competition in 4 consecutive seasons. Real can become the first team to retain the Champions League as they take on Juventus in the final in Cardiff. FIFA President Gianni Infantino has said that he wants to look at the transfer regulations of soccer players and make the system transparent. Infantino spoke about other issues as well, including violence and racism. He also took aim at the critics of the Football World Governing Body, saying that the organization had reformed and in fact was a victim of fake news and FIFA bashing. That's it in this edition of News Tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Good night.